What's up, guys? It's Bion from Mental Health Nation. I'm a fourth-year medical student and a future psychiatrist with a passion for your health. This video is about sleep, so how to get a better sleep, how to sleep faster, how to sleep earlier, all that good stuff. I'm going to share 6 tips with you, as well as 3 or 4 like super ninja expert hacks. So why do we actually need sleep? It's one of the greatest mysteries of life. We don't really know, but what we do know is what happens when you don't sleep enough. So what happens when you sleep deprived? And actually about a third of this country, 30% of Americans, sleep 6 hours or less a day. So how much sleep do we actually need? If you're between the ages of 18 to 64, the average amount of sleep you should be sleeping is about 7 to 9 hours a day. In general, the older you get, the less sleep you'll need, but it's something that's personal to you and you're just gonna have to feel that out and custom tailor make that number for yourself. Real quickly, what happens when you don't sleep enough? Your reaction time will go down and your concentration actually decreases. One of the theories of what happens when you sleep is this thing called the glymphatic system. It's kind of like a cleanup debris mechanism machine of your brain. While you're sleeping, cleans up this debris from the previous day and gets you ready for the next day. So another symptom is actually heightened emotions. It's thought that the frontal lobe here, kind of like our thinking area, and our amygdala in the middle of our brain, the emotional center, the disconnect between these two centers when you don't sleep enough, and this can actually cause some irritability and some essentially impulsivity potentially. It can actually lower your immune system as well. So if you've ever been sick, I know I have, whenever I'm sick, it's usually because of 2 things. Either I'm super stressed or I just didn't sleep enough. Better sleep will definitely improve your immune system and actually cause less sicknesses down the line. Now I will say that if you're having sleeping problems, one thing you're gonna have to rule out is depression. If you're feeling like your mood is down or you're losing interest in things you used to like doing, or your appetite has been off, like in that case, this video may not be so much for you, and I would recommend just seeing a therapist. So to actually get into some of the tips, what kind of tips can we dive into to help you going from tossing and turning on a nightly basis to sleeping like a baby? 2 of the biggest tips that basically the rest of what I'm going to say is based on are the following. You may or may not have heard about your circadian rhythm. So this is basically something that goes back in time to our evolutionary biology. So in general, when the sun comes up, we're awake, and when the sun goes down, we're asleep. So you want to try to mimic that natural process as much as possible. What this means is it can entail a lot of things. So as soon as the sun comes up, ideally you want to be awake. You want to get at least a half hour to an hour of sunlight exposure, ideally in the morning, maybe in the midday, afternoon-ish, because the earlier you see the light, the earlier you're going to be programmed to be falling asleep, because the more your brain is going to be expecting a nighttime to come. What's actually at the cause of this, cut open your brain and you do a cross-section. The center of it is like a very, very small appendage you can barely see with your eyes. It's called the pineal gland. This secretes a hormone you may or may not have heard. It's called melatonin, and this is known as the sleeping hormone. The secretion of this hormone increases with darkness. So the darker it gets, the more it signals your brain to send out this hormone, melatonin, which calms you down, relaxes you, basically gets you ready for sleep. What happens if you have an overnight shift and you work during the night and you have to sleep during the day? I actually had a friend who had a similar situation like that. He would basically drape up all of his windows, blocking and preventing any kind of sunlight from coming in. So you can trick your brain into thinking it's actually nighttime when it's not. Next one is to save your bed for 2 things, the 2 S's. So basically for sleep and for sex. So what you're doing here is you're conditioning your brain to connect your bed with sleep or with rest. Going back to evolutionary biology, these organs that we have up here in our heads are very old. So you can very easily be manipulated for good or for bad. So if you're using your laptop a lot or using your phone a lot in bed, reading magazines, reading books, every time you go in bed, you know, your brain might be thinking, what book are we going to read today? Or what internet, what Facebook notification am I going to get today? So instead of doing that, you want to keep it simple, and every time you hit the sack, your brain is just thinking, okay, I guess it's time to go to bed, so let's calm ourselves down and let's get that rolling. Tip number 3 would be avoiding electronics and TV before bed as much as possible. So these things serve 2 things, right? There's light coming out of these devices, out of your monitor screens, so that's blocking melatonin right off the bat. But it gets even worse because these emit blue lights. So blue lights will actually block your melatonin secretion even more. If you really need to use your computer before bed, like a lot of us do, it's okay. There's actually some programs you can get on your computer and on your phone. You can download F-Lux on your computer. These are free programs that will actually block off the blue light emitting from the monitors, or at least limit them to a point where you'll get a better night's rest right off the bat. And in terms of your phone, you can download the app called Twilight. It's also free. And if you really want to get elite and expert with it, there's blue light blocking sunglasses that you can buy. One I would recommend that's getting super popular are the Swanwick glasses. So these are made by a guy named James Swanwick, and these are getting super popular. You can see some celebs rocking them and stuff. There's links in the description. Tip number 4. So studies have shown that the optimal sleeping room temperature that your bedroom should be at is about 60 to 68 degrees. So ideally, just try to take that AC and crank it up to the point that it's under 70. Tip number 5 is take a hot bath right before you go to sleep. So what happens when you take a hot bath, you get super warm, you come out, right? The room's a lot colder and your body goes, what's going on here? And it's actually tricking your brain to thinking that your basal kind of core temperature is going down, right? So this is mimicking what happens in sleep. Tip number 6, this is something I must say, it's very common, but commonly unused, is sleep hygiene. So if you go to any kind of clinic and the first thing they're going to do is give you a little pamphlet that's going to say sleep hygiene on it. And basically what it means is you want to keep a common repeatable pattern of when you go to sleep and when you wake up. You also want to avoid caffeine before you go to bed as much as possible. So I've worked with doctors who say don't drink it after 3 o'clock, some say after 2 o'clock, some say after 12 o'clock, but it's really going to depend on you and how sensitive you are to coffee or caffeine. Okay, if you stay tuned in this long, I'm going to give you the 3 ninja hacks that I promised. First one is a very simple cocktail you can make at home that I personally tried that actually works. So you want to get a cup of hot water, mix 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar and 1 tablespoon of honey. So just 3 ingredients, you mix them up, you take it about a half hour before you go to bed, and you're going to notice you're going to go to sleep a lot easier than you would have previously. And in my case, it actually keeps me asleep very well, so it's highly recommended. Number 2, this is not mandatory, but it is something if you really want to take this to the next level. There's a new kind of invention or a gadget called the chili pad. Basically a pad that you sleep at can heat or cool depending on your preference. What's cool about this is you can find exactly what temperature you sleep best in and set it to that exact temperature every single night. And an added bonus to this is if you have a partner, it actually has a dual split system, so you don't have to worry about you and your partner having different favorite temperatures to set to every night. I've heard great reviews about it. And lastly, this melatonin hormone we were talking about can actually be bought over the counter. Okay, so this is kind of a last resort. Now melatonin comes in many different dosage amounts or dosage forms. I would recommend starting at the lowest possible dose. I mean, some people just go like to 10 milligrams right off the bat. I would definitely recommend against that. Start your way up. One caveat is you might have very vivid dreams. People I talk to in general say some of the dreams they have are like 5 times more real-like than their typical dreams, and sometimes it's even hard to distinguish from real life, so they wake up thinking that their dreams were actually real. But with that, I'll wrap up. If you found this helpful, please subscribe. I'll leave a link to everything I've talked about below, as well as a brief summary bulletproof form that you can kind of just go through right now in case you forgot any of the things we've talked about. Okay? So until next time, peace.